Welcome back to Esoteric Home. I am Jod. It's March 12th, Tuesday, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Reiki, about kind of what to expect if you're going to, if you're a first timer, if you've never had an energy healing session, and just some of the things that I like about it, some of the things that I find a lot of similarities with magic and ritual, and kind of why I think it's beneficial. So I'm not going to get too much into specifics about where it comes from or details. I did do a presentation for a group a little while ago that I'll probably end up doing on this channel in the future. But suffice to say, Reiki is it's an energy healing system. It's Japanese, and I'm a Reiki master teacher in Usui Reiki. A lot of people will pronounce it differently. That's how I pronounce it. So it's been a few years. Reiki is something that I really was drawn to, and I kind of wanted to learn about, really the first time that I got some sort of a session, my sister had gotten me a session with someone, and she was in Australia, and she called me over the phone to do the session, and started a little bit talking to me, and then kind of began this session. And it was the wildest thing because she was in Australia, I was on the phone, and I felt her presence in the room. I was like, oh my God, that's you. And I just kept like cursing, really, because it was so surprising. It was so surreal for me, even though I believed in these things and I knew about these things, that she was in Australia and I literally felt her presence in the room, could see her in my mind's eye, and she was working on my energetic system. And it was just, if you've never experienced it, it's wild. It's wild to think that, like time and space are really just constructs, and this person is halfway across the world doing a healing session on me, and it's as if she's in the room. So yeah, it's super wild. It's super crazy. It definitely changed my perspective on things. It definitely changed my outlook. It changed my beliefs, and I continued to have different energetic healing sessions with Reiki or theta healing, quantum healing, and either it was through a call, it was in person, or it was basically I had one session with Case, this guy who does quantum healing, and we talked for like 5-10 minutes, and then he's like, all right, I'll meet you in the field. Hung up the phone. My wife and I were laying there like, all right, it's never happened before. Usually they stay on the phone. Usually they stay on the call. And he hung up the phone, and like, again, in like 3 to 4 minutes, we're like, oh my goodness, wow. He wasn't even on the phone. He was in his room, I believe he was in Colorado, doing his thing, and we were in real time, as if someone was in the room. You can feel them working on your energetic structure. Like, it was tangible. It's just wild. So suffice to say, if you've never had some sort of Reiki session or some sort of energy healing session, I highly recommend it, because it will definitely open up your worldview. It will make you aware of so many things. And the basic premise with these things is, you have a certain structure to your subtle body, and the Reiki practitioner will typically, or the energetic healer will say Reiki, right? So they'll typically get to know you a little bit, talk to you, kind of find out what the issue is, what you want to work on, what your goal is for the session. And then there'll usually be some sort of scanning where it usually is hands off. Sometimes it's hands on. Sometimes they don't even really need to use their hands, but the hands are wonderful tools for sensing energy. So they'll typically scan your body, and this part of the process is kind of them getting a feel for certain blockages, changes in temperature, things that seem out of balance, out of place. All very intuitive, all very subtle, but again, you will feel it. So yeah, kind of just almost like if you're scanning someone with your eyes, you do it with your hands, and they're able to sense, certain things that need to be adjusted, certain things that need to be released. And then after this process, they will essentially tap into supreme intelligence, divinity, God, universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it, they will essentially, clear their mind, um, enter into a very meditative trance-like state, and then they plug in to whatever that big G is, whatever the ultimate mystery is. They essentially allow themselves to plug into that, become a conduit for that energy, for that intelligence. And it is intelligent. The energy itself is brimming with intelligence and life. Essentially tap into that, and then, for lack of a better word, channel that through their hands, through their intention, through their focus, into certain parts of the patient's body, of whoever it is that's receiving the session, and work on your energetic system. So I'm sure most of the people watching this are pretty aware of like chakras and stuff, but chakras are basically a map of your centers, of your portals, of your generators, and a lot of systems have seven main ones, 12, 13. There's a few different systems out there, but they're essentially some that are in your body, typically aligned with your spine. There's some that extend up above your head, below your feet, and then there are minor chakras kind of throughout your body as well. So the way I like to think about it is, it's like, you have main organs that control certain aspects of your body. Well, an organ, if you looked at it before it became a physical thing, was basically a packet of information, an intelligence. So it's kind of the layer of your body that is before, or comes before your actual physical structure. Just like you kind of have a brain, but you also have a mind. It's more on that mind layer, but it's very connected to your physicality. So essentially what they do is, again, tap into that universal consciousness, that life force, allow that energy to flow through them, and then become almost like almost like a composer, right? So if you go to like an orchestra, whoever's the one that's kind of directing the music, all the different parts, you become very much like a composer. And then they'll go through a session, typically lasts 40 to 60 minutes. And then whenever it's done, they will basically seal up whatever needs to be sealed up. They will, close off the session, close the space, create a barrier again, reinforce, like, okay, step away from it. So if you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. Again, I can't say it enough, whether it's Reiki or another modality, because it does, as the practitioner and also as the one who's been receiving the session, it does remind you of your connection to infinite intelligence. It's something that is visceral. It's almost like a message that you maybe forgot to listen to, or a song that is kind of in the background, and when you turn your focus to it, or someone else does that for you, then you can hear the music again, and it's so refreshing, so healing. And I also like that it's just good. It's just healing. Like a lot of times with magic and ritual work, you can, get stuff, and there's a lot of influence stuff that can be worked, and you can, affect things with your will. But with Reiki, the practitioner really just gets the benefit of someone who has only their best interest at heart, only wants good. And when someone, I said this before, when someone has only good intentions, that energy somehow flows very strongly, very powerfully. So, at the beginning of a session, typically, the practitioner will set their intention, like, this is for the good of you, the good of me, the good of all, whatever it is, whatever their intention. And that kind of formulates the theme and the taste of the session, just like you use words to kind of formulate and mold and a thought. And even a thought is kind of a container in a form for an energy that comes before it. So I tend to, when I do my sessions, talk a little bit more than usual because I not only use my hands and my imagination, but I like to use words because it does take that energy that can sometimes be somewhat formless and shapeless and just molded into something that is much more specific. So and there's a lot of different maps for chakras. This is just one of them. You can look them up and see each chakra kind of has the areas that areas of your consciousness, areas of your mind, body, spirit, field that it is responsible for. In a lot of ways, these are connected to the planets. In a lot of ways, these are connected to angels. In a lot of ways, they're connected to who you really are, who your deep inner essence is. It's really like a blueprint. So it's one of the most effective maps that I've used. We'll do kind of a deep dive on this at another point. It's also connected to the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life. So it is very closely connected to it. This is kind of more of a Western magical Jewish tradition where the chakra system is more, I guess you say, Eastern, but they're really different ways of describing the same thing. So just like if me and you were to go see an animal that we never seen before, and I say, oh, it's fluffy, it looks like it has brown fur and claws, and someone else might notice, oh, it's got sharp teeth, but it's got really strong hind legs, and we're really looking at the same thing, we're just describing it in different ways. So that's what you'll kind of find, because really, at least in my understanding at this point, it's all one thing. It's just an infinite number of ways, an infinite number of perspectives, and different differences. It's one thing, but there's so many. Everyone has a different perspective. We all have a different background, different paradigms, different belief systems. So the other thing that I like about Reiki is typically the practitioner will draw the shapes in the air. So each kind of shape has a pattern of drawing it, and if you notice, if you ever watch Harry Potter, when they do the spells with their wand, it's very similar to that. Typically you're using your finger, not a wand, but there's these patterns, and these also kind of further condense and coalesce and form that energy into something specific with a goal of healing a certain aspect of yourself. So this is Choku-rei. It's the power symbol. A lot of different definitions, but it's essentially bring the power of the universe here. Essentially, again, it like focuses, it's almost like a laser. It dials that energy and sends it in a specific direction to a specific part. Let's see, Seiki, emotional healing, and God and man becoming one, or God and person becoming one is one translation of it, but it's good for mental, emotional healing. Hanshaze shonen is the distance symbol. So the higher self in me connects to the higher self in you. This is good for distance sessions. So this is kind of, you typically use at the beginning of a session if you're not there in the actual physical space with someone. So let's say you're doing the session and they are in another time zone, in another continent, whatever. Typically that will help kind of close that distance, kind of reaching through time and space to where you're in the same eternal room, and you're able to work in real time, which is amazing. And again, experiencing this is really life-changing. Let's see here. We have Daikomyo, the master symbol. There's a couple different variations of this. This can be used for a lot of things, a plethora of different things. Great shiny light is one. But all these symbols have meanings, and then as you draw them or as you experience them, the nuances and the subtleties make themselves known. So the last one in this particular system, there's 5 main ones, is Raku, which is grounding, which is typically used to end the session. It's typically used to close the space, and kind of bring all those changes in, and then kind of seal it off so those changes are allowed to work in your body, in your mind, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Traditionally, they say that the energy will continue to work for around 3 days pretty strongly. You definitely do feel a buzz, and most people tend to feel really relaxed, really peaceful. Some people are more sensitive to it, so some people are able to kind of experience it more fully. But even if you don't really feel it, it doesn't mean that it's not happening and it's not beneficial. It's just a matter of people. Some people are sensitive, some people have worked to develop that sensitivity, and some people just don't. So doesn't mean it's not working. Typically you will feel it though. Some people will have, I've had people who I've been giving sessions to, and they have deep cathartic emotional releases. Sometimes people are very, very happy, giggling uncontrollably, laughing. Sometimes there's some sadness and some crying and some traumatic experiences from the past that kind of are stuck in your field, and you wonder why you're repeating the same patterns. You're stuck in a loop. You have these problems that really don't go away. They're kind of always with you, and a lot of times that's stuck as stagnant energy from that experience, from that imprint of whatever that happened in your life. And the practitioner can help dissolve that stuck, kind of sticky energy from it, dissolve it, transmute it, and just kind of remove it out, and get it. Just, it's almost like when you open the window or the door in a room that's been stale. If it's like you haven't opened the door, you haven't, maybe you've been smoking, or and it's like the room's stuffy. You open the window, you open the door, the good air just comes and moves all that out, and it's a completely different environment, a completely different atmosphere. And then the one that's always used to, and I hear a lot, is like if you have a cup of dirty water, and the water is dirty, all you have to do is pour enough clean water into the cup, and eventually the dirty water will be removed and the cup will be clean and clear. So that's essentially what is going on. Is we have meridians, we have chakras, we have all these different energetic pathways in our being. We're very, very complex, beautiful creatures, and a lot of times we don't really get taught about this side of things, about the energy side. And I say energy because there's the quantum field, whatever it is that you want to call it, that invisible part of us, that subtle part of us. We typically don't get a good education in how to use our own, how to use ours to help people. But in so many different religions and myths and stories, there's stories, just instance after instance of people laying on hands or healing with intention, and you have to be careful about what you say, obviously, because you can't be claiming to heal something or specific, cure something. But what it really does, in my experience, is it will help that person's natural ability to heal. Kind of that whatever that is, like when you cut yourself and your skin heals, whatever that mechanism is, it kind of reinvigorates and refreshes that. And so it's really just, again, reminding you or restoring in yourself the thing that's already there that is maybe dormant. And you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. It's Reiki has been taught in Catholic churches for a while. It's taught in different. It doesn't have to clash with your belief system. I like that it doesn't use, it doesn't really use spirits per se by name, and it's really very pure. It's really very close to source, if not source itself. Because again, when the practitioner sets their intention, this is for the highest and greatest good of all concerned. May this person get exactly what they need from this session. Maybe be healed on all levels. It really directs that energy. It's like things turn on and the universe starts to pay attention. And then someone who's skilled and talented on being able to tap in, to tune in, and to plug in to the highest level. When you're able to plug into this highest level, it really starts to affect the lower levels. Like it's like a key going into a lock. Once you have the right key, you go on the lock and you're able to turn it, and then things open up. So really, that's my kind of spiel for Reiki. There's so many things I could talk about, so many benefits. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful introduction to someone who is just um, getting themselves educated on this type of thing. Because again, you can, if you find this really skilled, good-hearted person that you intuitively connect with, who's done this sort of thing before, they can really kind of initiate you, and really charge you up to where like you are for certain know that there's more to our experience than just be a physical body, and it will reconnect you to levels that you may have not experienced in a long time, maybe since you were a young child or don't even remember. It will change your belief system, and you will feel the efforts of it. And we, science and stuff, I studied a lot of the placebo effect and really just how intention affects reality. And so we know that intention has an effect on reality. We know the placebo effect is a thing. So even if you just want to leave it at that, it's still beneficial. I know they've done studies, it reduces stress, all this, you can look it up. And yeah, I mean, as far as like the distance thing, people in another continent, another time, they have done studies too, where you can affect something. They've done it with random number generators, and the really time and space is all bridged by consciousness. What we really are is consciousness, and that's a huge mystery in itself. But we are beyond the limits of time and space, and each of us have a direct connection to the source of all creation, because that's at your essence who you really are and where you come from. But that's another topic for a later day. So really, I just kind of wanted to hop on, share some of my experiences with Reiki or energetic healing, talk about the benefit to them, because I can't say enough good things. So I only really offer Reiki to family, friends, or people when they request it, because it's a very personal experience for me, and I typically like to have some time to prepare for someone and get to know someone, because I really want to formulate the best intention for them. And then also too, if I'm not one of these people that can do 6 to 8 Reiki sessions a day, an hour a piece. For me, I still have to mind myself, keep myself clean, because a lot of times what happens is when a Reiki practitioner does this session, occasionally they'll pick up stuff. It's almost like catching a cold. And for a while, I stopped doing it because I wasn't as skilled as kind of making sure that I wasn't using my own energy. I was using more of my own energy than tapping into source, the infinite, unlimited supply. And then also I would catch myself processing the stuff that I was getting off them, and it kind of gotten stuck on me. So I wanted to take some time to kind of work on that. But anyway, I'll be talking more about Reiki in the future. Wherever you're at, I hope you're doing wonderful. Love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Really, really grateful and that I have this platform to express myself. And if you have anything that you'd like me to give my thoughts on, just let me know. All right. Peace. Talk to you soon.